Take a seat. How much of a problem, if any, would you say each of the following are in the country today? People being too easily offended by things others say, major problem, minor problem, or not a problem, and people saying things that are very offensive to others, major problem, minor problem, not a problem. Okay.
Okay, I have an immediate reaction to this, but as a person in a marginalized community, I'm used to having a group.
As a person in a marginalized community, huh?
No, I mean, I'm not used to having a group. And then in these past couple of years, I've been put into this like middle-aged white dude group, right? And a group that, of course, always existed. It's just never really been labeled and like thrown in one space.
Yeah.
So no. And so my initial reaction is people being too easily offended by things other people say is a major problem. And people saying things that are very offensive to others is a minor problem. But then I immediately thought, is that what every other middle-aged white dude would have said to this? So now I'm a little concerned about my answer, but let's see. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I would say the reverse of that, because I don't know if I would go so far as to say it's not a problem that people are too easily offended by things others say. But first of all, I think this cuts both ways. I think, you have censorship laws and stuff being passed about like gay curriculum. And that to me is like the only reason I'm putting this as minor problem, but also like on the grand scheme of problems, I don't think it's that big. And people saying things that are very offensive to others, I think I would see, I'm taking this too literally again, because like major problem to me implies like in my top 10, right? With climate change and the economy.
Oh yeah, I'm just
and all
riding
that kind
off
of,
the
and,
feel of the word. I wasn't really making
right. And like, it's definitely not that to me, but do I think it is, it depends on how I define these terms. I think probably what it means is major problem is like a real political problem. Minor problem is like, it's a nuisance, and not a problem is we shouldn't, it's not a problem.
Right.
So with that regard, I think I would say major problem for the second one, just because I think there's still a lot of like people have thrown slurs at me and stuff online and strangers in person. So like I would say major
and
problem.
So and you think people being too easily offended by things other people say is a minor problem?
Yeah, well, because here's my thing. I don't think people are really. I think a lot of what we see as people getting offended is mostly not really that. It's mostly
amplified by the media.
No, well, I think it's mostly like when people criticize other people for things they say, a lot of these flaps in the media about he shouldn't have said this, they shouldn't have said that, are really not initiated by people who are like too sensitive and have had a visceral reaction. I think a lot of that stuff is people just expressing an opposite point of view, right? Like they're saying this is wrong. And then other people, I think, jump on the bandwagon. Like I think we do have a problem with social media and stuff just hyper emotionalizing everything. But I think ultimately people being too easily offended by things others say, that for me just falls into the category of people have differing ideas. Like, honestly, I'm going to say not a problem.
Well, part of me wants to say that neither of these are a problem. So maybe I'm saying this the wrong way and looking at how much of a problem would you say that it is? I think it's a major problem that people are so offended by what other people say, because a lot of the things that they're offended by have nothing to do with them.
Sure.
And so the problem is people. Are they a problem for being offended by everything? Yes. And then I took the next one, people saying things that are very offensive to others. Are the things that they're saying a problem? Yeah, I mean, I guess they are, but I guess my real answer is that I don't think we should do anything about either of them. I don't really think either of them is a problem.
Yeah, well,
so
I
I'm
would agree
purely
with that.
answering this socially, not politically. I don't think that there should
Yeah.
be any laws
No,
banning
definitely. Yeah.
words or anything like that. But I do think people being too, if he's, I'm going to go with what my initial answer. Let's see what happens.
All right.
Let's see what happens. I don't know. That one was confusing. Pew.
Yeah, really, that one really depended on one's own like personal definitions of major, minor,
Right,
and not
yeah,
a problem. Like,
Okay. Which comes closer to your view of candidates for political office, even if neither is exactly right? I usually feel like there is at least one candidate who shares most of my views, or I usually feel like none of the candidates represent my views well. So,
okay, well, I would
there's a
say,
definition here by like how far of a candidate are we talking about? I mean, are we talking about the crazy fortune teller lady running for president? I mean, maybe
I
she
assume
does
they
your
mean
views.
in
Does she
the
count as a
major two.
candidate?
I assume they mean in the major two political parties.
So once we get to the actual election, I definitely feel one comes closer, but I've never felt like I've lined up with them. So I guess I'm curious what lined up means.
Well, it says at least one candidate who shares most of my views. So if you went down a checklist of, immigration, taxes, trans rights, whatever.
None. I'm going with none.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm doing that too, just because, like, I think I do legitimately share probably most of my views on social issues with candidates who are often running, but on economic issues, like, I want to nationalize everything and make like central.
Well, as soon as you hit immigration, I'm just there's an area that I don't agree
right,
with.
But it's just most of the views, so it only has to be like on that theoretical list. Is there?
I still think it's no. I think I'm too sci-fi in the way that I think the world should be dealt with.
Yeah, I'm the same. So.
You got this one?
Yeah. In general, how much do white people benefit from advantages in society that Black people do not have? A great deal, a fair amount, not too much, or not at all.
Okay, so I assume both of us are in the top two. I assume that you're one, and I have to say that I'm hovering at two in the thought that I have to be aware that things have gotten better. But the argument can be made, there's still a great deal to go. So it's like, how do I answer that? There's obviously things that need to be changed. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. What's your take?
I'm saying a great deal just because I think if we only like took into account like personal, like interpersonal person-to-person racism, then I think I would only say a fair amount. But you also... I think in this, it's benefit from advantages. So that's super broad. So I would include in that how wealthy were your parents.
Money,
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Where you were born, the house your dad owned, the so on and so forth. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So for me, I would say a great deal.
Yeah, I'm all in on a great deal with that one. So we both agree in general that white people benefit a great deal from advantages in society. I'm guessing that a lot of people out there disagree with that on the radio.
Yeah, I've heard people say to me that a Black person has no disadvantages versus a white person in society. Like,
I just don't see how you can think that.
It boggled my mind. I can
understand that you could think that it's maybe not as extreme as somebody else or something, but I don't see how you could imagine
that there was
totally
no. It's strange.
My feelings are expressed for the most part by the August 8th, 1985 letter to the Parents Music Resource Center from Mr. Stanley Gordikoff, President of the Recording Industry Association of America. This letter was a formal response to the PMRC's petition of the RIAA.